In this episode, Super Sebring was absolutely mental, and some hot drama on the F1 podium. Welcome to episode 192 of the We Are Auto Show. Welcome back, Derek from Sebring.
Mr. Michael Rowell. I did go to the 1,000 miles and the 12 hours of Sebring.
So you said you went to the Super Sebring event.
Super Sebring is what it's called.
It is affectionately known.
Likely the last time we'll see these cars in the U.S. for a while.
I'm going to shed some tears. Again, we've talked about how the WEC, the WEC, the World Endurance Championship, is probably not coming back to Sebring. Was it next year or the year after? I think it was after next year. I think they had one more.
No, they'd never. While we were there, they never announced another one of the Super Sebrings.
But it's all because the WEC has taken a whole bunch of oil money and is starting their season in the Middle East.
Two races
there. And if they start in the Middle East in February, March, it's pretty well impossible to logistically ship all of the circus from the Middle East to the middle of nowhere, Florida, to start in Sebring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, and it is the middle of nowhere, Florida. But let's take a look at some of the photos I took, and let's talk about what happened while we were there.
Okay.
So, the Friday was the WEC race, the WEC race, which was very, very entertaining. If you look here, we have photos of some prototypes, which are pretty awesome.
Also known as?
GTP cars.
Nope. Hypercars.
Sorry,
Remember,
hypercars.
naming conventions.
Totally right.
WEC, not IMSA.
Let me give it a quick refresh. Okay.
That one wasn't very focused. That's
no,
okay.
I don't know.
That's
I think
okay.
that was just compression. But this race overall was very entertaining for the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There are a couple notes that I have here. On the grid, so when the cars were going to the grid, some cars were going very fast, which I found kind of odd. The Peugeots specifically, I think, did 2 flying laps going to the grid, while others were sitting on the pit lane speed limiter going to the grid.
What?
Yeah.
Were the Peugeots going past the people on the...
Yeah.
That's not how that goes.
At speed.
That's not how that goes.
Usually not. It was kind of odd.
What is going on?
I don't know. That was just one of those things that I noted down in my handy-dandy notes that I was like, this is something I've never seen before. This is very, very odd.
Yeah, while everyone's doing their formation laps, you're not usually flying by at 1,000 miles an hour.
No.
That's kind of incorrect.
They happened to do that. They did the normal grid up. They did the Le Mans. Everybody gets out of the car and they walk across the pit lane and then they go get in the car, yada, yada. All that stuff was all good. Once the cars were actually on track and the race started, we got, I think, like 6 laps in, and a Ferrari managed to just stuff it into the wall.
I did see a video of that. That was rough to watch. Holy shit.
It was kind of an odd one.
There it is.
I have a photo of it.
You got a picture of it. You got a good picture of it. Wow.
Yeah.
There is a car in the air and upside down and tires are everywhere and oh my God, what a thing.
It was pretty wild.
That is an upside down Ferrari.
There's an upside down Ferrari, and that's what it looks like when it goes away. That Ferrari is not much of a Ferrari anymore.
But can I just point out, look at how perfectly safe the driver is there.
Mm-hmm. The cockpit of that car is intact.
The cockpit of that car looks pretty well, not even a scratch on it.
I don't know if this is broken enough. I think it could actually be repaired. The way it went in was kind of odd, and the tires kind of absorbed the impact and like bounced it up. Yeah, it wasn't like a...
It did look like it wasn't like a hard impact. It was an absorbed and then rebounded impact where it like went in and went boop.
You can see all the tires flying everywhere, and that's usually a good thing because the more debris that flies, the more energy is dissipated in the accident. But crazy beginning to that race. That was the 8 laps into like a 250 lap-ish race.
Would you say that was the start to the weekend crash fest?
Well, I'd say that actually started the race prior.
Yeah.
Which was the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge race.
Oh, that's right.
That was a crash fest.
I forgot about that too.
I heard that it was something, they had 8 laps of green, like 40 laps into the race. Yeah. or 40 minutes or something. It was not good.
rough.
But this race overall was very cool to see all the Le Mans cars in Sebring. Weird that sports cars come to the middle of nowhere of Florida, because it really is the middle of nowhere in Florida.
Yeah.
But very cool to see them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, your Porsche Penske's were there. Yep.
Ooh, look at that shot with the rotors. Oh, man. That is just pornography.
It was super
Oh,
cool.
my God. That picture. Oh, that's doing funny things to me.
Another quick note as we scroll through some brake rotors here is
that car.
Okay.
You know what it is?
The Hertz car.
Yeah, but you know what you know why that's got Singer on the back?
Why?
Because that's actually going to be a Porsche soon.
Yep, that's going to be another GTP car. Right.
Yeah, you know who sponsors it?
Hertz.
And?
Who?
And Singer. And, like Singer Porsche.
Yep.
And, what is that last name on the wing uprights?
I don't know. What is it?
Starts with a B.
Brandy?
Brady. Famous quarterback.
Tom Brady?
Tom Brady sponsors the Porsche, when it goes Porsche. Tom Brady sponsoring that.
Really?
How sick is that?
Why is he's getting into the business of motorsports?
I love it.
Wow.
As if I didn't have any other reason to love Tom Brady. He's now sponsoring what will be the Jota Porsche 963 race car.
I did not know that. Will the Penske Porsches, will there still be 2?
Yeah.
So there's going to be 3 GTPs?
Yeah, so there's going to be factory cars and customer cars.
Okay. Interesting. Overall, this race was super cool. Another quick note that happened that was kind of odd, at least in the beginning. They kind of got it figured out later on down the race. But in the beginning of the race, you were not allowed to use tire warmers now in the WEC. Good, I agree. But in the beginning of this race, it was very evident that the GTP cars were very slow. Very slow. Lap 1, they were not a lot faster than LMP2 cars.
So they had like no pace until they had heat in their tires. Oh,
yes.
Look at that picture of the new Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you
Coming
took
out
some
of
good ones, man.
We did. Got some good stuff.
Didn't mean to derail you there. Great
That's fine.
picture of the Corvette.
Yep.
Man,
put that on
I
your
need
wall
to-
later?
I need some time alone in the
Then
bathroom.
this happened.
Yeah, SpaceX.
This was a rocket launch during the race.
Didn't that also happen when we were at Sebring last year too?
It did. Well, in the middle of the night. But yes, it did. Super cool to see everyone. This was at turn 7 where I was taking those photos. Everyone got out of their chairs, turned around, stopped watching the race for a moment, and looked up in the sky to watch a rocket launch.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was super, super cool. But meanwhile, we had just race cars cruising around, which was super cool to see.
Oh, rotors on the Peugeot, the wingless car. Also, check out our shorts for a quick short of some of the hypercars going into turn 7 with some blazing rotors. It's
Yes.
pretty cool, actually.
Yep. The unfortunate thing about this race is the results.
Yeah.
And all you need to know is that Toyota won by 2 laps over the entire field.
Very boring.
Very boring.
The GTP WEC race was super boring.
The second half of the race for the WEC was kind of boring.
It was just Toyota, put it on cruise control, and just let it rip, tater chip. The rest of the GTPs, especially the Porsches, were not very competitive.
No. And from what they've said, at least in the broadcast, this will be the BOP that goes to Le Mans. Good luck.
Dear God, no.
Good luck.
Okay. If you're a Porsche, no. If you are a...
If you're a fan of any other manufacturer.
If you are a random LMP2 driver, a mid-pack LMP2 driver, I will pay you $10 to punt both Toyotas the first chance you get. $10? I will pay it to you.
Yikes.
I don't want to see that because it's so goddamn boring. I know the whole hypercar revolution is to help keep everyone competitive and push the boundaries of the sport and all this, but it's the most uncompetitive racing next to Formula One.
Okay, here's the problem. The problem is not that the racing is uncompetitive. I think that the racing was actually fairly competitive. I would not say that the BOP was that crazy. I would say that it was amplified by the fact that WEC doesn't do safety cars. That's the problem.
Yeah, they do Code 60s.
We'll talk about what happened in the IMSA race because it was fantastic and exciting and came down to the last hour.
So much more exciting.
But the WEC doesn't do safety cars, and that's a problem. The only safety car that happened was the Ferrari flip. Every other time there was an incident, there was a code 60 or a full course yellow. They don't quite call them code 60s, but everybody comes down to everybody comes down to like pit road speed, and you all keep your position on the track. And as a purist, as a racing driver, as somebody who is in the race, that's perfect because the person with the best performance wins. Mm-hmm. As a fan, it's terrible.
It's boring terrible. As a fan, your team has absolutely no chance unless they already happen to be neck and neck with someone.
Right. And that's not what you want as a fan.
Not at all.
So, who took the win other than Toyota? Who took third? So it was Toyota. Who was it?
It was a team that I did not expect to even finish the race. Ferrari.
Ooh.
The brand spanking new Ferrari 499P. I think you had a better picture of it at turn 7 if you go back the other direction. If you go back a couple more. Yeah,
how about that one?
No, not that one. That one. Yeah, the 499P. I actually predicted that this would not even finish the race.
They looked pretty good.
I am surprised how good they looked in comparison to how not good the Ferrari Formula One team looks.
Yes. I totally agree with that.
It's shocking.
Yep.
It's like, how is it that the Ferrari race team that's been around the longest is the worstest?
I don't know.
The Ferrari race team that's been around the least longest is the bestest.
So far.
I don't understand this.
Endurance sports car racing is a funny thing that it's a little bit of a gamble, right?
There's definitely a lot more luck involved in endurance racing versus F1 sprint racing, but still.
How you catch traffic, how the cautions fall, all that kind of stuff really plays a big role into the race for you. But they did look good. They looked quick. They looked consistent.
How did the Ferrari not just look quick and consistent, but finish on the podium in its very first race at arguably the toughest track in the world, right? Because everyone compares a 12 hours at a Sebring to any other 24-hour race because of just how bumpy it is, right? Meanwhile, Peugeot, which has been racing since last year, their 9X8, has a absolutely dismal performance.
They didn't do great. They had mechanical fit. The first Peugeot didn't even complete a green flag lap.
That is embarrassing when the car that's been racing can't even complete laps under green. Meanwhile, the most brand newest car, the Ferrari 499P, or the hypercar, is able to not just finish, but also podium on its first outing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It was a bad sign when they rolled that car under the first pace lap into the pits and just started tearing it apart. They tore that thing apart. I don't remember what they replaced, but they replaced something deep in the bowels of the Peugeot, and it took 20-ish laps, and they were out of the race before the green flag dropped.
They've only ever known how to run on a track that's smooth as a baby's bottom.
If you do look at this car, the one that we're looking at now, the Peugeot, somebody asked me mid-race, why'd they design it like that? To win Le Mans. There's one reason this car exists. It is to win Le Mans.
What do you not need at Le Mans?
Mechanical failures.
And you don't need downforce.
Downforce.
And how do most people get downforce? Wings.
Yep. So
what does this car not have? A wing.
Right. You take the wing off the car. You, in theory, are super slippery, and you just glide through the air at Le Mans. Mm-hmm. We'll see with the way this BOP is set up, if it will work for them. In theory, the car should be great in a straight line, but that's only in theory.
We'll see if it even finishes.
Yeah.
But going back to results, you were Toyota in your hypercars. Then you were Ferrari, then Cadillac, then Porsche, then the rest of them way a million years down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great race. I will say, being a fan there, it was super cool to see. I hope to see them again in the U.S. Please bring them back.
I do too. Real quick, as a note, we're going to skip over LMP2 because no one really cares about LMP2 very much. But in your GT class, that was taken by the Corvette.
It was in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
The Chevy Corvette C8R did
Good for
take
them.
the win in LMGTE AM. That was Ben Keating, Nicholas Veroni, and Nick Katzberg.
You know, good for them ending this generation of car, this GTE car, in the U.S. with a win.
Yeah.
It couldn't be any better. And I will say, when they drove by at turn 7 on the final lap, everybody was hooting and hollering. The whole crowd was going.
Me, even as a Porsche guy, I would be too.
Yeah, I was in there hooting and hollering at them. It was awesome.
No, that's good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, super cool. Fun race to be at. But that is only one of 2 races that happened. So that was on Friday.
Yep.
This is on Saturday. Let me get this real quick. We had the IMSA race.
I love how you start with a picture of maybe my favorite car that was there.
Is this better than the FAF Porsche?
It is.
Ooh, okay.
I'm sorry, but the dinosaur T-Rex livery on the Porsche, that is, I'm going to argue that is maybe top 5 liveries of the modern era.
I would agree with that.
It's so good.
Yep.
It is so good. It's a fun fact. So the name of this Porsche race car is called the GT3R. On the back, they rebadged it. They called it the GT3 RAR.
That's cool.
I love that so much.
Yeah, that car looks awesome. This was the IMSA race. This is the 12 hours of Sebring. That last race that we talked about was the WEC 1,000 miles, which took around 8 hours. So this went well into the nighttime compared to the WEC race, which just went barely into the nighttime. This race was amazing from start to finish.
This was a hell of a thing.
Yeah. There were so many incidents, moments, craziness that happened in this race. It was awesome to watch.
What a thing.
Yeah. Watching this race in person was awesome. Every time that we stepped away from the track, there'd be some big incident that would happen. And we'd have to go wandering back, go find one of the TVs, figure out what happened, who put it in the wall, who stuffed it in the tires. And man, the atmosphere that's at Sebring for this race, specifically this race, is crazy.
I would say it's I prefer the atmosphere there to Daytona.
They're just different. They're very different. Daytona is set up to be a coliseum around a racetrack, whereas Sebring is a party with a race around it.
I see. Yes, but that's not the aspect of it that I like. I just like how do I even describe it? How much access you have to all of the track.
You do get good access at Sebring.
Because you don't get as good to see the bus stop at Daytona. Right? I do like the good old boy nature of Sebring.
Oh, there's some good old boy.
But I love that, just everyone's there to have a good time and watch racing. And if you build a 3-story scaffolding to do it, you invite everyone that walks by up top of it.
Yep.
I just love that. I don't know. There's something about. Plus, it's nostalgic for me. That's what I grew up watching. Right? I would go there with my dad as a kid. But I digress.
I'm sure that's quite the bias. There was the Daytona. You can see the whole track up in the grandstands. That's something you can't do at Sebring, which is cool in its own way. They're just way different atmospheres. Both the events, but they do both have really good racing. I will say we had a debate when we were walking between turn 7 and 13, which is like Green Park area, which is where the party happens. How many people there were there to party, and how many of them didn't actually care about the race? And I bet you a lot of people are there to party and don't really care about the race as much, which is fine. But at Daytona, I think most people are there to watch the race, which is a bit of a different atmosphere.
Yeah. I don't know. I see both sides of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I see both sides of it. Where did you get this picture? Is this the outside of 17?
This is.
How did you get there?
They not only had a good spot here, they had a TV board, they had grandstands.
Man,
this is a cool spot.
How did you get there? That's cool.
Yeah.
We couldn't get there before.
We could. We just didn't know about it. There was also a tram to bring you in from there, which was pretty cool.
Well, that's brilliant.
Yeah. This was super cool. This was a couple of the guys that I run iRacing with. They had an RV set up with a whole bar and everything. Yeah.
Did you crash in their RV?
No. But I definitely hung out at their campsite for a good hour or two and had like lunch and dinner with them. It was super cool. Yeah. But heading into nighttime, man, these cars are a spectacle at night. Look at this. This is a Lambo spitting flame out the exhaust with brake rotors glowing red hot.
That is something.
There's nothing like it.
We have talked about racing at night before, and there's just something about it.
Yep.
There's something just so primal and good about it.
It's awesome.
Ooh, I love that.
Awesome to see these sports cars at night doing what they do best, which is hard on the brakes, glowing brake rotors. Those little turbos are eating that cold air, and they're just zooming, baby. This is a cool shot because you can see
glowing red hot.
You can see the exhaust.
God, yeah.
Just glowing red hot.
Oh, wow, that's a great shot, too.
Yeah.
You got some good pictures, dude. You got some good pictures.
And like we said, go check out the YouTube short because there's some really good stuff going into 7 with brake rotors of GTP cars just glowing red hot like this.
You got a cool picture of the exhaust in that first farm Porsche. Oh, good stuff.
I think that we need to talk about what happened in the nighttime in this race.
I guess we should.
I know you're going to have PTSD for years to come with what happened in the nighttime in this race. But man, it was exciting.
Okay. Shall we?
Yep.
Okay. So, this race was going great. There was a wonderful battle for first in overall the GTP.
There was a battle between 5 cars.
There was a battle between cars in almost every class.
Yeah.
With exception of maybe P2 or P3, whichever. But for the most part, there was a ton of battles.
A ton.
Tons.
That was awesome.
But with, what was it, about 20 to 30 minutes left?
30-ish minutes, yep.
Yeah, somewhere in there. There was a battle between a Porsche GTP and an Acura.
That one right there, the 10 car.
Yeah. The Wayne Taylor Racing Acura.
They went down into turn, 3?
Yep. They were out of turn 1 into turn 2, 3.
Coming out of turn 17, they went across the start-finish line 3 wide. Okay? That was your sign. You don't go across the start-finish line into turn 1 at Sebring 3 wide. No. You don't do that. Inevitably, this was going to end in disaster. And this was the battle for the win, for the lead, basically for the win, with 30 minutes to go after 11 and a half hours of racing. Which, after 11 and a half hours of racing in the WEC race, was a 2-lap lead. The race was over. It was dead over.
Done.
In this race, it was exciting. There were 5 cars still on the lead lap. There was a battle. There was 3 wide across the start-finish for the race lead. They went down into turn 1. They made it through there somehow.
Well, hold on a second now. The Porsche goes to take the inside line through 1. The Acura goes to take the outside line through 1. The Porsche and the Acura both realize I'm coming into 15,000 GT car traffic coming into turn 3. Turn 3 is such a narrow, pinched-off corner that there's not a chance that you're going to go through there barely 2 wide, let alone 3 or 4 wide.
No.
It's impossible. So they both come around 1 and go, oh, GT traffic, oh God. And then the Acura decides, I'm going to go to the outside. The Porsche decides, I'm going to start going inside. And then the Acura slices back to the inside as the Porsche is still going inside.
And then a racing incident divulges from there.
It does. And then the Acura decided he's just going to keep going inside, even though there's not a chance on God's green earth that would ever work in the history of the world.
Nope.
He runs out of road. He's in grass. And when you put a race car on grass, that is just a roller skating rink. It's an ice rink. It's not going to happen. Yep. And he then proceeds to bowl his way through everything.
Yeah, no, it was not good.
Another Porsche, couple of GT cars, another Porsche jumped him as the other Porsche was coming around. There was nowhere for him to go. He launches over the Acura,
It was chaos.
taking one Acura and two Porsches out of the race,
It was complete chaos.
and a couple other GT cars.
We were sitting at turn 17 watching the big monitor. I think it just had, that big
there.
monitor right there. And there was two big grandstands with people in it. And everybody was just like, they were just losing their minds.
It was
awesome.
a long day for me at home, and I was watching it in bed, and I think my wife almost called 911 on me for a heart attack.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Unfortunately for you, it did end with both the Penske Porsches crashed out with 30 minutes to go. And that set a situation up where there were two GTPs left. We had 5. 3 of them crashed in that specific crash, and they were all toast.
Dead.
Tires
Totally
were
dead.
off, suspensions were broken. You're not recovering those. And it left a Cadillac and a BMW were the only two GTPs on the lead lap at the end of that 12 hours. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
I would
got
have
a little
never
bit of a
guessed.
bone to pick with Wayne Taylor, too.
Why?
Because immediately he just starts going on, he forced us off the track. He forced us off the track. He didn't force you off the track.
From one angle, it looked like it. From the other, it didn't. It was a racing incident.
It's definitely a racing incident.
Yeah.
I would say, not just because I'm Porsche biased, but kind of knowing that track, why Albuquerque would have thought that could have ever worked, even if the Porsche wasn't there, is impossible.
If 6 hours remain on the clock, that move never happens. There's 30 minutes left in the 12 hours.
He's
dude.
going to go for it.
If you don't go for the gap, you know the quote, right?
Yeah.
The Senate quote.
Yep.
If you don't go for the gap, you're not a racing driver.
Hmm?
He went for the gap. That's what happens.
Yep.
He's a racing driver.
It was gnarly.
Yes.
It was gnarly. Albuquerque on Jaminet.
Yeah. So that set up a situation where there were 2 cars left on the lead lap, which meant there was going to be an LMP2 in the podium. The overall podium of this race was going to contain not just
Wild.
GTP cars. Whoa.
GTP, LMP2 with Scott McLaughlin, the Indy driver.
That car was crashed as well early in the race, and they
I
came back
remember
to
that.
win.
That was the Tower Motorsports car.
Yes. They got all mangled up.
What a freaking 12-hour, man.
So the
Holy
12-hour
shit.
was beating and banging and smashing and cars crashing everywhere. It was awesome to watch.
It was crazy. It was freaking sane.
So who came out with the win?
The overall win came to the number 31. That was a Cadillac LMDH of Pippo Durrani, Alexander Sims, and Jack Aitken.
That was the red one that we're looking at right here.
Which, funny enough, earlier in the race, got crashed out from an LMP2 that just blatantly spun in front of him.
Yeah.
Did you see the replay of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he was driving around trying to milk it for the safety of the car to see, do I have to do emergency service or not? But then he just barely had to do emergency service.
Yep.
But that car got repaired and came back to win the overall.
To win.
Damn. Followed by a BMW LMDH. That was Sheldon van der Linde and Connor De Felipe and Nick Yellowly. And then you had the LMP2, Scott McLaughlin, Kiffin Simpson, and John Ferrano. And that rounds out the entire podium. So an LMP2 on the podium. Again, that's just...
I would have thought that it would have been Daytona, not Sebring, where that was going to happen, considering that it's a 24 versus a 12.
Dude,
But
they left it all on the line.
there's that. And then the saying that 12 hours at that track beats up cars more than 24 at any other track kind of bared out to be true in this race.
Yeah. Real quick, moving on to GTD Pro. I am kind of stoked about the top 3 of that one. I don't know how this actually happened, but they pulled a rabbit out of the hat here. Faf pulled a great race.
Yep.
Faf is one of those teams where it kind of doesn't matter what the scenario or circumstance is. They're always going to strategically play out an amazing race. That's just kind of how Faf works, and I love them for that. But the win in GTD Pro went to the Faf Porsche, the number 9, driven by Lorenz Vantour, Klaus Bachler, and Patrick Pile. Then you had the Vassar Sullivan Lexus, and that was second place. That was Ben Barnicoat, Kyle Kirkwood, and Jack Hawksworth. Then in third place, you had the WeatherTech Racing Mercedes, Maro Engel, Daniel Juncadella, and Jules Gounon. That was your podium for the GTD Pro. Just under that, fourth place, you did have Romain Grosjean in the Lamborghini.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Nice.
so he had a decent showing as well.
That's cool.
And then if we go into GTD, so the non-pro, the Pro-Am, I'll give you top three there. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You had a BMW winning.
Yep.
BMW's BOP in Daytona was as bad as Porsche.
Yep.
BMW took 1 and 2. Porsche took 3. Again, miraculously. It was one of those weird, how does that happen? So third place was the Kelly Mossworth Riley Porsche GT3R. That was Julian Andlauer, David Brule, and Alec Udell. Then second place, you had the Turner Motorsports boys, Robbie Foley, Michael Dinan, and Patrick Gallagher. First place was another BMW, the Paul Miller Racing, Madison Snow, Corey Lewis, and Brian Sellers. What a freaking race, man.
I know.
That
will
was
say
a battle, too.
the BOP across the board looked very good for IMSA.
Yeah.
It didn't quite look that way at the Rolex, but I do remember, what was it, 2 episodes ago, all the Porsche boys were basically burning down the bridges on social media trying to get the BOP fixed. I don't know why they did that. The next race, the cars were fine. They were plenty on pace.
Yeah.
It wasn't really needed, boys.
I feel like they had to, though, because they weren't going to respond if they didn't.
I think that they were going to.
I didn't think they would.
From what I know, I think they went from 38 mil to or from 33 to 38 mil restrictor on the Porsche. Like, that's what gave them the performance back. I don't think they needed to go as far as they did, but
They
never know.
Dominant, though.
No, I think it's perfect.
Because here's my thing. I don't need Porsche to be dominant. I just want them to be slightly competitive.
Yeah, nobody wants to see dominant.
And
Nobody wants
in
the Toyota.
In the Rolex,
No.
the only cars that were going to win were Mercedes.
It was clearly off, but I think that they were always going to make an adjustment going into Sebring. I don't think that they had.
Well,
to
they
go as
originally
far.
weren't.
Yeah.
Originally, they were giving you a 1 millimeter larger restriction, which does nothing.
But think about it from the IMSA perspective. We can't say we're going to give you an adjustment going into Sebring. We have to say we're not going to.
Adjustments might be made. But they didn't say that.
It's in the legal paperwork. They reserve the right to make an adjustment the morning of the race.
Well, sure.
They can do it any time they want.
Well,
Not
sure.
halfway done with the race. They can't do it during the race. But yes, they
Too bad
can
the
always
WEC
make that
couldn't have
adjustment.
done that to Toyota halfway through.
No.
You are assholes.
No.
I give you 0 amount of air and 100% more weight.
Just because they didn't make a mistake doesn't mean they're assholes.
Yes, it does.
They raced nearly a perfect race.
Yes, I
as
I don't
the
want to
racing
dwell
purist-
on, I don't want to dwell on the 1,000 miles of Sebring.
The racing purist won the race. Just saying. Yep. Great time. Great time. Super Sebring.
Yes.
Hope
Super
to see it next year.
Yeah. We're not gonna, but I hope so.
Probably not.
All right. Shall we move into some Formula One talk?
Sure.
Okay. I enjoyed Sebring more than Formula One because it's just way more exciting, but it is worth mentioning the F1 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix happened this past weekend as well.
It did.
And it was a total snooze fest.
We're back to Formula boring, aren't we?
We are back to Formula boring, but it was some hot drama.
Yes, there was.
So the racing itself was pretty much a snooze fest, but there was hot drama.
Tell me more.
Okay. So, the hot drama in Formula One. There's a couple pieces of drama here. Drama 1. Before I tell you, guess who won?
Oh, you know who. The Red Bull won.
No, it was Haas. It was Haas.
No.
Yes, it was.
I'm sure Red Bull was on pole, and I'm sure Red Bull won.
It was Red Bull 1-2 in the race, but it wasn't Verstappen-Perez. It was Perez-Verstappen.
And I believe that's because Verstappen started way in the back.
Like 15th. Yeah.
Yeah, like way back.
Yeah, and Perez got pole. So, you would think that the points would now be tied after the second race, with it being 1-2 and then 1-2 flip-flopped.
Right.
Incorrect.
Well, there's fastest lap? Right?
Yeah. So, Red Bull came on the radio to Checo and said, you guys are running the same pace. This is a great pace. Keep the pace. Just keep the pace. Just keep the pace. Apparently, that's not what was told to Verstappen.
No.
Either that wasn't what was told to Verstappen, or Verstappen just said, let me show you why they pay me $50 million a year. And the last lap of the race, Verstappen set a blazing time and obliterated the fastest lap. So, guess who's 1 point above the other?
Yep.
Yeah, it was that team order, or was that Verstappen just saying, watch this?
I don't know. I think if you're either driver, you kind of got to go for it on the final lap, and you have to try to put in the fastest lap. Even if the team tells you, I think that Perez was even pushing back on the radio. He was asking, like, is he going to go for it, or something along those lines. But it's only 1 point. In F1,
Agreed.
The difference between first and second is like 7 points or something like that. I think it's 25 to 18. So there's a big difference there. Just to get 1 point, you don't got to worry that much about it. But
True.
I agree, some team politics were probably at play.
Yeah, there was definitely some team politics at play.
Yeah.
There.
This race overall, though, was a nighttime race at a very narrow circuit. There was not a whole lot of passing.
I hate the circuit. I hate the circuit so
Verstappen
much.
very slowly worked his way through the field.
Mhm.
There was one safety car that did bunch him back up, but by the time a lap was done, after they went green for one lap, everybody was kind of slotted into where they were, and they kind of just ran it out.
Mhm.
It wasn't that entertaining.
So the next bit of drama, we discovered it was Red Bull,
Mm-hmm.
and then take a guess at who got third place.
Yeah, who's the best of the rest? Because that's the kind of the question this season.
El Plan. Fernando Alonso.
So an Aston.
Let's go.
An Aston
First
Martin.
2 races of the year, and Alonso podiums twice. Yes. Let's go, baby.
So the podium has been the same for 2 races in a row.
Pretty well, yeah.
Hmm.
So the drama here.
Yep.
Apparently in the race, Alonso had a penalty. He was told that he may or may not have served his penalty correctly.
Uh-oh.
And his bosses and engineers told him, get a 5+ second gap over to Russell just to make sure. Right? So he does. He gets 5.1. But then the FIA says that penalty that you served, or whatever the case it is, was also served incorrectly, or something to that effect. And so they actually yoinked Alonso off the podium.
Ooh.
So he got third. After the race was done, they took him off third, promoted Russell to third, brought Alonso to fourth. And then Aston Martin was talking to the FIA,
Mm-hmm.
and they showed the FIA, I think it was 7 different pictures and videos of other teams that did not serve their penalty correctly.
Whoa.
And so the FIA said, okay. Not only did they have to come back and go, okay, they also did not tell Fernando Alonso about the penalty until after their penalty advisement window of, for 20 or some odd laps or something like that. So, after they took Alonso off the podium, promoted Russell to third, brought Alonso down to fourth, they then re-promoted Alonso to third and Russell to fourth. So the official running order is Perez, Verstappen, Alonso, Russell.
As of right now.
No, that's what it is.
Okay.
They finalized it.
Okay.
It was Alonso, Russell.
Then
Russell,
swap.
Alonso. Alonso, Russell.
Let's just swap back and forth.
They did.
Oh, boy.
And after all that, they came out, they asked Alonso, like, how do you feel about this? And his quote is amazing. It says, it doesn't hurt too much, to be honest. I was on the podium. I did pictures. I took the trophy. I celebrated. And now I have apparently 3 points less. I don't have 15. I have 12. I think it's more FIA poor show today, more than disappointment from ourselves. He also made some comment about, it was my sponsors that got the stage, not his. So, that's the most Alonso thing to say ever.
Yeah.
Love it.
I saw the silliness that was going on with that. Didn't really feel like keeping up with it because it was going to be the most classic FIA BS ever, and that's exactly what it was.
Yep. Total. Real quick note: McLaren, where, who, what?
Oh God,
bro! McLaren finished in the top 20. Congratulations!
On a 20-car grid.
They sure did. They were 17th and 15th.
Yeah, no, they both came in with front wing damage in the first 2 laps, and from that point on, your race was toast. Yeah. Not a good look.
Oh my God.
Not a good look for McLaren.
So, real quick, driver standings. You have, after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen, 44 points. Sergio Perez, 43 points. Fernando Alonso, 30 points. Carlos Sainz, 20 points. Lewis Hamilton, 20 points. George Russell, 18 points. And Aston Martin is third in the World Drivers' Championship.
Wow.
Did you ever think you'd be hearing that in the next 25 years?
No.
I honestly didn't.
What? Yeah, and the drivers? Wow, that's crazy.
Amazing.
I imagine the constructors, they're probably second?
I will tell you. They are second, yeah. It's they're actually tied with Mercedes.
Oh, wow, okay. And then Ferrari? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And Aston Martin is tied for second in the world driver in the constructor standings. Did we ever think in the last 20 years we'd be hearing that?
I didn't think so. I also didn't think McLaren to be messing up so bad. Ferrari is really meh, and Mercedes looks like they have a terrible car with their stupid side pods. So I wonder what Drive to Survive is going to have storylines for this season.
I can't wait.
I don't think there's many to show. I don't think there's many storylines.
It's going to be hilarious.
Do you want to see McLaren failing? Do you want to see Mercedes complaining about their stupid car?
We want to see this, yes.
Do you want to see Fernando Alonso going absolute ham?
Yes.
Or Red Bull just cruising to a victory? Not really.
Not that part, but the rest of it, yes.
The rest of it could be interesting, but the overall championship is going to be so boring.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
We're rooting for second place here.
Yes, the best of the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, so that wraps up the news. There is quick little note to talk about with upcoming races this weekend. There's not much, but there is NASCAR at COTA. NASCAR is racing a road circuit this weekend. How exciting.
Heck yeah. I'm going to watch that.
Super stoked for that.
I'm definitely going to watch that.
It's one of my favorite races to watch is NASCAR COTA.
I've heard that those new cars at the road courses are hilarious. They're underpowered. Their brakes are terrible. It's apparently really not fun to drive them, but man, they're going to be funny to watch on TV.
Mm-hmm. It's so much fun. There are a couple of notable drivers racing at COTA.
Oh, yeah?
Kimi Räikkönen is racing once again. Remember, he raced at Watkins Glen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jordan Taylor.
Ooh.
Yeah, Chase Elliott is out, so Jordan Taylor is in.
I would love to see Jordan Taylor do well.
I want him to win. I want it to be a Jordan Taylor, Kimi Räikkönen 1-2.
Could you imagine if Jordan Taylor won that?
Yes.
No, I can't really imagine it.
I can. He's been doing a lot of the testing for the Garage 56 NASCAR for Le Mans.
That's true.
He spent a lot of time in not quite the same car, but similar to a next-gen NASCAR.
That's a good point.
He's been spending a lot of time in that car. He's got a chance.
I hope so.
I mean, of all the road course drivers, he's the most equipped right now.
He is.
He's taking kind of the lead on the Garage 56 NASCAR Le Mans entry.
That's true.
He's turned a ton of laps at Sebring and Daytona in that thing.
And then he could play his character in real life.
Rodney Sandstorm in real life. Yes, let's go, Rodney!
Rodney was out in force when they had the wing eating contest on Friday night after the WEC race. Did you
partake in the wing eating contest?
I did not, but I heard some stories.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look forward to NASCAR at COTA this weekend.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. So, if you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment. Let us know what you thought about the Super Sebring. What did you think about that whole Porsche Acura debacle at the end of the race there? I would love to know. Drop that in the comments here. And if you're listening on audio, send us your comments about the 12 hours of Sebring ending via social. Facebook is We Are Auto. Instagram is We Are Auto _. YouTube is We Are Auto, and our website is weareauto.io. So that's going to wrap us up for this episode then, right? So thanks again. Catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.